Congratulations to Eliud Kipchoge, Waterman, and also congratulations, by the way, to Bridget Kosgei, who won the women's race at the London Marathon. Kenyans doing what they do best, and that is win races and international events out there. And that is our topic of the day. Oh my God. Biting my tongue all day today. Anyway, that's our topic of the day, the sports industry in Kenya. And I'm joined in studio right now by three individuals. To the farthest right is Mr. Gordon Oluoch, who is the Commissioner for Sports within the Ministry of Sports. That's basically government. He's also the acting CEO of the Kenya Academy of Sports. Karibu.
Thank you.
In the middle is Cynthia Mumbo, who is a sports marketer and CEO of Sports Connect Africa as well. A former basketball player for the national team as well. So has worn the shoe and knows where it bites. And to my left and close to me is Professor Muni Wekesa, who is a board member of the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya. Also chaired the Anti-Doping Task Force that did a report on the status of doping and doping control in Kenya in 2014. Welcome to studio. So first of all, your reactions to the London Marathon on Sunday, Mr. Commissioner?
That was lovely. That was lovely. I think the condition that we saw Kipchoge in as he won the race is, at the moment, Kipchoge is unassailable. I do not see anybody in this world who can beat him. And I actually think it's quite possible to erase his world record in the marathon. Seeing how tactfully he ran this race, and seeing that he wasn't even pushed. He didn't have a strong pacemaker to make him. Actually, he set the pace most of the time. And at one time, as I looked at it, he looks like he was impatient with the two Ethiopians who were with him, and asking them also to get in front and set the pace for him. And I think that was marvelous. That was a beautiful race. If Kipchoge was pushed, then he would even have lowered that time more. And I believe he will still lower his world record.
Maybe in Berlin in September.
Probably Berlin, which is his favorite.
His favorite race, actually. His favorite course. Wow, I was just telling you, I haven't watched a full marathon. As much as I always come to like the last 20 minutes. Right, yes. But this time I watched every bit of the race, and I really, really appreciated just what tactics and what this guy puts in. He is incredible. He's a joy to watch. I mean, seeing him at 1 hour smiling, looking at the guys and smiling, I was like, this guy knows his stuff. It's
too much confidence.
Yes. Yeah.
Prof?
Yeah, I think it was wonderful watching that, and he's done us Kenyans proud.
Yes.
It's just my hope that the win is genuine. Because again, there are lots of things about winning in sports.
Yes. Right. He has a background in doping and doping control issues, so that's why the skepticism is brought about by that, because of what we have seen as a board member of the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya as well. But behind all that success, really, there are some issues that we need to look at. And some of these things include development of sports facilities in the country. And I'm going to start with you, Mr. Commissioner. Where are the 5 stadiums that we were promised in 2013?
The stadiums are underway, and there were not 5, there are 7 in total.
At some point there were 9, in fact.
Yes, the ministry went a step further and actually did 2 more. And they are all in different stages of
which ones?
Of development.
Which ones specifically?
The stadiums are Kipchoge Keino in Eldoret. There is Karatu in Kiambu. There is Marsabit. There is Tharaka Nithi. There was as well Nyayo Stadium, and I think one or two more in the country, and they are all coming up very well. Nyayo Stadium is very close to us, and we pass by every day, and you can see it's nearing completion. So one of the low-lying fruits, I would say, as a ministry, is to get Nyayo Stadium complete. Then there was so that we can put it back into use. Then Kasarani Sports Complex. Within Kasarani Sports Complex, the hotel, the hostel, which has been upgraded to a hotel level, is also under construction, and is almost complete as well. If these 2 infrastructure can be complete within Nairobi, I think that would be a step forward and a milestone in the development of sports infrastructure, and will also help to generate money. However, in the other places as well, Kipchoge Keino is also doing very, very well. The expansion has come up very well, and I think in due course we should be able to finish it.
This is something you've always said as government and as a ministry, is we are working on it. You know, we are working on it. We've developed plans. The construction is underway. In 2017, during the campaigns and the launch of the current government's manifesto, they said they gave us as much as 3 months or 6 months for the completion of some of those stadiums. None other than the Deputy President himself said that. What happened? We expected that in a matter of months we'll have those stadiums ready.
You're
Yet
quite right.
It's been almost 2 years.
You're quite right. The pace has been rather slow. Sometimes it's depending on the disbursement of funds to complete the projects as well. And that's why the new strategy is concentrate on the low-lying fruits and then continue finishing the other ones in time. The other stadium that I forgot to mention is Camarin in Elgeyo Marakwet, and they're all coming up. They're all coming up.
We were told that would be complete in 3 to 6 months.
Right, that was at that time. As more and more money continues being disbursed to the ministry, we are also unrolling and actually completing them. Okay. And the different stadiums, the 7 of them, are all in various stages of completion. However, they are being completed. And I told you the earliest one, which is going to open the doors to the public very, very soon, is Nyayo Stadium, followed by the hotel at Kasarani, and followed by others. I believe the next one will be Kipchoge Keino in Eldoret, and the other ones will come on board as well. So we are on track. Yes, we may be a bit behind schedule, but we are on track, and we'll complete them.
Cynthia, I'm sure you understand the frustration of Kenyans and sports personalities around the issue of facilities. Having played this sport and under some of the not so good facilities really. Nyayo Stadium is supposed to be our best basketball court, and it's what it looks like.
It leaks like this season it's raining.
Yes,
no
if it rains you can't use the court.
Right.
Really. What would you like to say about the development of facilities?
I think it's important to be honest with ourselves. If something's not where it should be, like he said, it's not where it should be. But sports is being able to access facilities, being able to access training, being able to access the different platforms that are available. And we have been the best in Africa in sports for a very long time, but everybody's catching up. Why? Because they came and looked at us and said, aha, this is what they have, and went and built that. And then, they came, caught up with us, and eventually decided, okay, let's go and look what everybody else at the top, benchmarking with the best in the world. But we're stuck at 20 years ago, and it's with facilities, it's with a lot of the things that we're doing. If we don't move beyond where we are, we'll be singing the same song in the next 10 years, and unfortunately that's just the reality.
Yes.
Yeah.
Prof, our best stadium, supposedly the Kasarani Stadium, was built in the early 80s to this day, and even as you follow athletes to find out whether they are running clean or not, really Kenya being one of the most talented one of the countries with the most talent when it comes to sports and all of that, really facilities are issues we shouldn't be talking about now. We should have them in place.
Yeah, that's true, and I think this also because we may have gotten off on a false start. We thought we were just winners, we were natural winners. Without stadium, we were winning in big facilities, and we never thought that we needed our own facilities. So there was no kind of serious blueprint drawn up to be able to map out and say, we want a stadium in Oloitoktok. We shall need a stadium in Migori by 2040. We shall need another stadium in Marsabit by 2013, and so on. That kind of master plan, we never kind of got it up and early enough. I'm not sure whether there is now, but I think that is something that we must now consciously set ourselves to do so that we move forward in a planned manner.
Okay. You understand what he's saying, Commissioner, and right now you say the work is going on. Could you just give us a definitive amount of time that this will take? When do we expect Nyayo to be complete, precisely speaking? When do we expect Kasarani, any developments being made, to be complete? Because we have the under-20 championships in 2020, next year, right? Coming to Nairobi again. When do we expect Eldoret, Kipchoge Keino, or Kinoru in Meru, and all of them to be complete? Precise dates, please.
Now, it's difficult to give precise dates because these things are dependent on a lot of things. One, they're dependent on the pace at which the contractor is working. They're dependent on availability of funds at your fingertips when you need it. And they're dependent on a lot of things, a lot of dynamics, some of them even on the ground itself. And therefore you cannot predict for certain. However, I can tell you the number one stadium which is going to be ready for use is Nyayo Stadium as we speak.
When?
The number two, in another probably 2 or 3 months, I can see Nyayo Stadium is under use. We already used it the other day for the national celebrations. But however, for sports use, if you've passed there recently, they're actually doing the final touches, the fittings and the final touches and the cleanup, and then it will be ready for use. The hotel at Kasarani is also another 2-3 months, should be ready for use. Kipchoge Keino in Eldoret should be the next one. Kamarin is a little behind. Makueni is a little behind. However, the next one, Tharaka Nithi, is coming up. Marsabit, I had a delegation last week from there, and they told me it's coming up very well. I've not been to Marsabit for a few months, and they're coming up. And so we have faith that it's going to happen. I want to agree with Professor. For a long time, we rested, and we didn't think and start planning about, as a country, I mean, we didn't think and start planning for the future growth of our sports in terms of infrastructure. We did more international sports center. We did Nyayo Stadium first, 1983 Nyayo Stadium, and then we sat back and relaxed and said, oh, now we've got a beautiful national stadium. And then after that, in 1987, thanks to the wisdom of our former president, retired President Daniel Arap Moi, we did more international sports center Kasarani. And then after that, we now had an international standard facility. Then we relaxed. We didn't realize as a country that the other stadiums around the country had to be upgraded until the current government came in and realized that gap and talked about 5 stadiums, and which was improved to even 7. Now, you may say that we beat a lot. Fine, we beat a lot. It's a matter of time, and the 7 stadiums are going to be delivered to Kenyans, and this is going to be a milestone in the development
So can
of
we
sports.
say by the end
if
of
we
this
look
year,
at it from that perspective, from that angle, that from 1987, after Kasarani was built,
yes,
then there's been very little in terms of improvement,
that's fine.
massive
That's fine,
improvement of
but can we
sports
say,
infrastructure.
can we say by the end of 2019 we will have those stadiums?
A
Because
significant-
remember, we
beautiful.
lost Chan
Oh, yes.
because of something that we should have, done
Some small issues, technical
way
issues
back,
in
really,
the stadium
yes,
that we could have done.
by
Quite
the end
right.
of 2019. Will we
Quite
have
right.
those
I
stadiums?
believe a significant number of the stadiums will be ready for use and will be usable.
And it's not just about being ready. Will they be up to the standard that is required?
Of course, they are designed to be up to the standards. They may be smaller stadiums, 10,000 seater, 20,000 seater, 25,000 seater, but they will be ready. They will be ready.
Cynthia, finally on this issue, do you think the government is taking this industry seriously, really, in terms of the investment they're putting in? And as someone who has played, really, some of these frustrations you have experienced.
Yes and no. Yes, because ultimately government's role is policy. If you look at any other industry, the dairy industry, you look at, what other industry can I look at? You look at commerce. Government creates policy, right? That's government's role, is to create policy and an enabling environment. Have they done that? We've come from an area where we didn't have a sports act. We have one now. Is it sufficient? No, because we've not had something like that before. And like Professor says, keep reviewing yourself and make yourself better. No, because culturally, sports is mchezo. And so literally. So I think I saw. Let me just go back to the yes first. I saw a document from the Ministry of Education and the plan for the next several years, the policy document, and sports is spoken of very highly there. I know that the new education system is now talking about how to support sport, and of course infrastructure is one of the big challenges that the government has, and I like challenges because then you find solutions to them. No, because I think there has to be a mind shift from what we look at sports as. It's no longer just a by the way. It could be a heavy earner for the exchequer.
Yes.
And we need to have a mind shift into how do we get ourselves to do that locally, not relying on our athletes who are running outside, but create an enabling environment for sports locally.
All right. You talk about schools, and they have been one of the biggest channels, just bringing out new talent to the fore. And just recently, Team Kenya athletes who took part in the Under-18 and Under-20 African Championships in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, they returned home and refused to travel to their specific homes until their allowances are paid in full. This took quite a bit of fighting and back and forth. Let's have a look at that story.
Mwenye na hold pesa yetu a release, kwenye na hold pesa kufanyia nini?
That is a passionate plea from Team Kenya athletes who participated in the age-grade Continental Athletics competition. Despite Team Kenya bagging 46 medals, among them 19 golds in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, their allowances amounting to roughly 80,000 shillings each remain unpaid.
Ni kama consider hawajali finye results ile yenye tumeleta.
Kama wanasema watatulipa, wafanye hivyo kwa sababu tuache kuweka hopes kwa kitu ambayo hatuipati.
The government maintains that the reason for the delay in paying off the allowances is that most of the young athletes do not have bank accounts.
Hiyo ni uongo kwanza, ukisema historia ya account, hiyo ni uongo. Mara ngapi tunaambiwa mtakiwa pesa kwa account, na enda 18 walisema account. Nikaenda Finland wakasema account, nilienda Algeria wakasema account, nikaenda Nigeria wakasema account. So hii tena wanataka kusema account na allowances. Kama waweke ya medal, sasa allowances ndio wataika. Hasa hatuwezi toka hapa bila pesa yetu.
Athletics Kenya on its part has asked the government to fulfill its responsibility.
And we want to make sure that we don't frustrate our young people. When we talk about Kenya as a powerhouse in athletics, then we have to ensure that as a country, we cannot just pretend to be talking about them, Kenya is a powerhouse, but when it comes to paying peanuts for them, it becomes an issue. Why does it have to be an issue?
The team returned home in batches, with the last batch arriving last night from West Africa, and the athletes who are holed up at roasters here in Nairobi have vowed to stay put until they get what is rightfully theirs. Warote Kiru, NTV.
So that was last Thursday, Commissioner for Sports.
Right.
Have they been paid their dues?
Right. One thing I want to say clearly, that the government takes the welfare of athletes.
Have they been paid their dues, first of all?
Let me make this point first. The government takes the welfare of athletes very, very seriously. Now, specifically talking about this group, yes, there was the aspect of, and it's government policy to put money belonging to athletes in each individual person's account. Yes. We've tried all the other things before. We've taken this money and given it in cash to an individual to disburse to the athletes. We've taken this money in the past and given it to the federation to disburse to the athletes. And even still, those methods were also still having loopholes, and there were several complaints. But now it's government policy that these people be paid through their bank accounts, because it brings about better accountability. We all know the risks involved in handling cash, huge amounts of cash, and giving that to an individual or to an organization. And we also must understand that the athletes that we deal with, some of them are children, some of them are still school-going children, some of them do not even have national IDs by the time they go out to represent the country. Particularly,
I presume in that case, then their parents need to give out their accounts.
Particularly in age group competitions. Mm-hmm. Yes. So all those are things we are considering. However, being specific to this particular case of athletes, yes, the ministry that same Thursday disbursed the money, which I think has now hit the account through the federation, because now it was not possible to pay the athletes because they didn't have bank accounts and a few other logistics here and there, and therefore it was necessary now for the ministry to pay that money through the bank, through the federation, and that money has been paid to Athletics Kenya. And I believe as we speak now, probably yesterday, probably today, the money will start being now disbursed, probably in cash. Now I do not know how Athletics Kenya is going to do it. Probably they're going to take it out in cash and now give to the athletes. So that
if I confirm with Athletics Kenya right now,
absolutely.
We are going to call the official there, Barnaba Korir, who went with the team, and just find out if that money has been paid out to the athletes.
Was disbursed on Thursday, and by now definitely it has hit.
My producer producer Sean, if you have his number, please call Barnaba Korir, who is the chairman, Nairobi branch of Athletics Kenya, just to find out what's happening in this issue. But this is something that has been there for quite some time, and I'm sure you experience
However,
this as well.
As I complete,
yes.
the ministry now is working on a policy so that we now don't do it in a sporadic way. We are working on a policy of how to pay the athletes and working on the modalities of paying all the athletes. And I want to give credit to our new cabinet secretary, yes. Ambassador Amina Mohamed. She has put her foot down and she said, in future, going forward, all athletes must be paid before they leave this country. We are working on the modalities and it's going to be implemented.
All right. All right, this is something I'm sure you went through as well. And in 2016, I think after the Rio Olympics, the president hosted the athletes at State House and asked the then principal secretary, I believe, Ambassador Richard Ikai, on whether athletes had been paid their dues. And some of them ran as far much back as 5 or so years, you know, and then there was a directive for those allowances to be settled. You were in the ministry at that time.
Yes.
Was that done?
It was done. It was done.
All of them were
There
cleared.
is no backlog now that the PS at that time, Ambassador Ikai, talked about. There's no backlog. All the backlog at that particular time,
yes.
which existed at that particular time, have all been settled down.
Yes.
At least all athletes' dues have been settled.
So my question is, you get these bank accounts before they leave at the time of registration, all right? You get them at that time?
We normally get them through the federation, and sometimes some of them don't.
Before they leave for the specific competitions?
Ideally speaking, they should give them before they leave.
Then why is it coming up when they're supposed to be paid when they have returned? If
No,
you
some of
already
them don't have. So when it comes to the total number of the list comes back to us. It comes without all the other documents, all the other records are there. However, bank accounts are not there. And remember, teams change. So tomorrow you'll have another crop of athletes.
Yes.
One athlete may fall sick and you replace with another at the last minute.
But you get the new ones, you get their bank accounts before they leave for the competition,
yes,
as long as you have the list.
we are trying to do that also and put a database of all their bank athletes or bank accounts, hoping that they're not going to be changing them, the young people.
Yes, there's one there who actually said, I think 4 competitions in, he's been told the same story. Edward Zakayo, I believe. I was with him in Nigeria for the African Championships sometime last year. He went to Algeria for the Youth Championships, Africa Youth Championships. He says the story is the same, yet you have his bank account.
Sometimes you might find they change the bank accounts and so on. But we are working on the modality. We will confirm with each and every athlete before they leave.
All right.
And the minister has put her foot down. We have to pay the athletes before they leave the country.
Surely, Cynthia, you have something to say about
We're
this.
in 2019 and we're speaking about
Alliances.
allowances. Why? Where's our pride?
Exactly.
These kids carry us. The athletes, they are our pride. We are also, in terms of data management, we're the best in Africa. Why can't we innovate?
All right. Let's, Cynthia, let's, let's take a quick break and then come back into this conversation after this short break. It's quite something, and we are coming back. Don't go too far. We are still in studio with the Commissioner for Sports, Gordon Oluoch. Cynthia Mumbo is a sports marketer and the CEO of Sports Connect Africa, and Professor Muni Wekesa, who is a member of the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya board, as well as, you know, he also chaired the task force in 2014 that did a review of doping and doping control in the country as well. So, sorry for keeping you waiting for that long, but we are back right now. One of the things we were talking about was the issue of the welfare of athletes. And we have Mr. Barnaba Korir online right now, like we promised. We are working on finding him. Commissioner, let me start with you again. There was the issue of the National Sports Fund.
Right.
From which we are supposed to get some of the funding for these, you know, our national teams and all the events that come about as a result of that as well. Where are we with that? And why are we still having problems when already there's a sports fund?
Right, a lot of progress has been made, and the organization now has been transformed through legislation, through the Sports Act, from the National Sports Fund to the Sports, Culture and Social Welfare Fund, which is going to look into a lot of things, including health and including other emerging issues. However, what we are concerned about is the sports aspect. We in sports will get the lion's share from that money. That is where the betting money will go. And sports is going to get up to 35% of that money, which is a significant amount of money which will be injected into the sports sector, taking into consideration the background that we have been coming from, where there's been very little funding. And this is going to completely transform the area of sports. A few things are still being done, a few logistics. The fund is in operation. All the structures have been put in place. There is a board guiding the fund. There is an acting CEO, there is management, and there is a board that they're answerable to, and so on. All those have been put in place. However, there's a small technicality still involved, a few logistics here, being here and there being done, and I think the fund is going to be fully operational and will start disbursing the funds to
when it came about in 2013 as a result of the Sports Act, of course, some of the proposals that we had was to create a national lottery. The sports betting companies have since taken advantage of that, and you were supposed to give them rebates, if they fund sports in terms of the tax provisions that we have. Are these some of the sources of revenue that you put into the National Sports Fund?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because now we're giving people a chance to do what they do best.
Yes.
At that particular time, the thinking was on setting up a national sports lottery. However, we don't have an expert for doing that. But the betting companies are already doing a very good job, and the government is already taxing them and putting the money into the new fund, so they can do the work and put the money into the new fund.
How much money do we have in there right now? Do you have a figure?
Significant amount of money. I do not have the exact.
Was that
figures.
where the 250 million for the Harambee Stars was taken from?
Yes.
For the preparations for AFCON?
However, it's a significant amount of money.
All right. Cynthia, you're a sports marketer, and these are some of the things you deal with in terms of just funding and sourcing for funds and all of that. What are some of the solutions that we can talk about away from just over-reliance on government, really? Because we've seen Gor Mahia, community clubs, the likes of them, having issues with funding when they have to take part in some of the competitions they do.
I always talk about a mind shift.
Yes.
Sports is business, just like any other business. So it's not, for me, it's not a fund per se. Government can speak of fund. We speak of value. So if I'm going to go to a brand and say, my brand is Gor Mahia, and this is what I am looking for. In fact, one of the conversations I've been having is many times you go to partner to potential partners, and they say, "What's your budget?" Safaricom doesn't give me its budgets when it's charging me 4 shillings per minute. I don't know what their budget is. So they tell me that the value that they're going to give me is you'll have, proper calls, you'll have this, you'll have that, and we have to repackage sports. Gor Mahia is the greatest sporting brand in this country, and this is free, I could call it free consultancy for them. How have they packaged themselves? Do people want to put their money there? What is the return on investment? What is the value of your team? What is the return on investment that you will give a partner? What is your strategy? And so we want funding, but we have to change and move from funding to a discussion.
How can this be done? There have been proposals about PPPs and public-private partnerships and all of that, merchandising, among other sports tourism investments, those kinds of things. What can be done really from the perspective of these entities, apart from just over-reliance on government?
You go back to the very basics. What does your client need? The clients need entertainment. It's red and black or black and white. The clients need entertainment. So if the need is entertainment, the product is sport, right? So how do I package my sport? How do I deliver my sport? The 7 P's of marketing, if you want to call it. How do I price my sport? How do I understand the environment so that this guy who needs this form of entertainment, because you're competing, what does my competitive environment look like? So first, go back and understand, what is this need? It's entertainment. Then go back and say, okay, entertainment is the need. What environment are we working in? Can these guys who I want to entertain, can they pay 5,000 a weekend to watch sport? No. Can they pay 200 a weekend? Yes. Then when they come to watch, what will it look like? Can I find a toilet? When I go to Captor or Stadium, if I come with my 7-year-old, is he going to enjoy this environment? Can I find food? And what quality of food can I find? So you're creating an opportunity for so many different people because you're creating an environment. It's like the music industry. When you're going to watch a jazz festival, you know that you're going to sit in there. It's going to be clean. It's going to be secure. I'm going to have all of this. But you have to start from the very basic.
right.
And it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. Like any other business, you have to have a business plan, you have to have a strategy, you have to understand your environment, and slowly work towards achieving that.
One of the other things that we've had, and it's been a thorn in the flesh for Kenya, is the issue of doping and use of substances to enhance performance in sport. And that's the reason we have Professor Muni Wekesa here, because he worked on a report in 2014 and a lot of backlash on that, Prof, you remember, with rugby and the likes. But there is a problem when it comes to use of substances to enhance performance in sport. Athletics, track and field really is bearing the brunt when it comes to that. Just last week, the World Half Marathon record holder, Abraham Kiptum, is provisionally suspended by the Athletics Integrity Unit, which, by the way, you're a member of the Tribunal Board as well. What is the extent of the problem of doping in this country?
I think it has come out very clearly, as it did, you know, as we kind of indicated in our report in 2014, that doping is a major problem in Kenya, and we actually need to accept that, and after accepting, be able to set in motion mechanisms for dealing with it. I'm glad that mechanisms have been put in place. The problem is there, yes, and we just now need to intensify our approach to dealing with the problem. So
we have a law which took, you know, quite a lot of time to create and to be accepted by the World Anti-Doping Agency sometime, I think, in 2016. We have a law that specifies the rules, of course, in alliance with the World Anti-Doping Code. And we know what is an offense and what is not. But yet we still have some of these cases. What is happening? Where is the disconnect in terms of what the law provides for and the offenses that are still being committed to this day? Just last year we had the issue of Asbel Kiprop. Now we see what's happening with him. A four-time world champion, a former Olympic champion as well. Where is the disconnect between what this law provides for and actually curbing this menace?
Let's not talk about a disconnect. I want us all to remember that in Kenya as a country, stealing is an offense, and it has been an offense ever since the pre-colonial days, but stealing continues on a daily basis. In like manner,
yes.
Doping is an offense under the Anti-Doping Act 2016. It is an offense under the World Anti-Doping Code. It is an offense under the Kenya Anti-Doping Rules. However, there are those who risk. So I think it's a question of risking. That's where one could probably talk of a disconnect. But then, having said that, I also want to add very quickly that a lot of efforts are being made to ensure that this is brought under control. For example, we have the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya that has taken various approaches, one of them being testing, another one being education, another one being investigations, another one being intelligence testing. And all these are meant to try and get to the root of the problem with a view to either eliminating it completely or reducing its manifestation, to kind of handle everyone. No one is left behind. For example, the ones you're calling the senior athletes, when they are preparing to go out for training, to go out for competition, they are normally exposed to education measures. They are educated on how to go for the testing, how to avoid those prohibited substances, and how to even avoid the company of those who could lead them into doing that. So the education is there. No one is left out in terms of duration in the sport or experience in the sport. I think what we are dealing with is a bigger problem. But having said that, let me also very quickly add that maybe we are focusing too much even on the athlete. We need to go down and start talking to our MCS, our assistant chiefs, our chiefs, yes, so that there is pressure from all over.
From all over. And I like that you bring in that point, because doping is not only an offense committed by athletes or sports personalities. They are the people who aid them to do so.
Yes.
And this is for you as well, Bwana Commissioner. We have, you know, we have, just before we take Barnaba Korir, we have managers, agents, coaches, who, and even, you know, specific doctors and shops within Uasin Gishu County that are known for aiding this practice. We know them. Some of them have been taken to court
Yes.
Why are we not seeing any convictions and in terms of just trying to, and some of them are foreigners, my friend. Why are we not acting on this thing once and for all, decisively, as government?
It is the wish of the ministry actually that action be taken on one. If a deterrent action is taken on one or two pharmacists or doctors who aid this kind of thing, I believe it will send a very strong message out there. The government is very serious about this, and we want to work with Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya, ADAK. And now that we have the Anti-Doping Act since 2016, we are strong enough to do that. Once they have a case against a particular pharmacist that is enforceable by law, let us engage the required arms of government, be it the police, the CID, whatever it is it takes to have these people arrested.
All right.
Once we do that, we are going to send a very strong signal that we are very serious as a nation to eradicate the issue of cheating through doping, which is a lot of other side effects, and it's against international regulations in sports.
All right, let me cut you short. And we have Barnaba Korir on phone. He was the head of mission for the under-18 and under-20 team that went to Abidjan for the Africa Youth Championships. Mr. Barnaba, last week we had the issue of the athletes refusing to go home due to unpaid allowances and bonuses. And the Commissioner for Sports, Gordon Oluoch, is in studio, and he says that he sent that money to the account of Athletics Kenya and that you should have paid the athletes by now.
Yes, the money was sent on Friday, but
Yes.
it reflected yesterday afternoon. But we had already started paying the athletes in the morning because I insisted, because the government wanted the money to be sent to the accounts of the athletes who do not even have accounts, their parents don't have accounts, they're under 18. So it is not also right that we have to continue always fighting for these athletes to be paid. So when the money was sent, we paid the athletes yesterday because the regulations from the banks indicate that you cannot withdraw more than $1 billion. So we paid half of the athletes yesterday, we are paying the others today. We are very clear on that, and the federation is always clear and always doing things the right way.
But why do we have this problem? From the onset, you knew that these athletes are young and do not have bank accounts, and maybe their parents do not have bank accounts. Why did we not find a solution before, rather than going with them to Abidjan, coming back here, and then after they have done their work, then you have them sitting at a hotel waiting to be paid? What solutions really can we find, lasting solutions for this thing?
Now, the solution does not lie within the federation. The solution lies within the ministry. Mr. Oluoch understands the problems I've always been facing, and the fact that the athletes, also the sportsmen and women, always have problems even with the ticketing. It does not augur well when the federations are always blamed. But the question is this: we have the athletes, we gave the information to the ministry since last year so that the athletes can be paid. Those athletes have not been paid, are the ones even in the World Cross Country Championship, have not been paid. Last year,
Yes.
Sambere, I was there, I was saying the team. We were number one. They have not been paid.
So you're saying that there's a backlog in terms of paying allowances and bonuses. The president in 2016 ordered the ministry to pay all of them, the outstanding allowances and bonuses. Have they been paid?
If the commissioner of sports is sitting there telling to pay the athletes, they have not been paid. He knows that.
Mr. Commissioner. Mr. Commissioner,
we get it.
You said, no, just hold on. You said they have been paid, all the backlog.
One thing, Edmund, I think I've been vindicated there. The ministry has been vindicated that
On
the money in the case of the under-20, the money has been sent to Athletics Kenya, and Athletics Kenya have confirmed that they have received the money, and in fact, they are already in the process of paying. Now, the challenge they have right now, according to Barnabas Korir, is that they can only withdraw so much money from the bank because of regulations, but in the process of paying them.
That's fine. For the senior athletes who have the bank accounts, where there's backlog that he talks about.
Any other
What's
issue,
going on with that?
any other issue that the Athletics Kenya is one of the ministry, one of the sports federations, which is working closest with the ministry. If they could bring to the attention of the ministry, because sometimes you might find that in a certain group that represented the country, several were paid, but one person was probably left out by mistake. But mistakes do occur, human error can occur. If they could draw the attention of the ministry to such a person, it can be paid, and it will be paid.
All right, thank you.
That is the assurance that the ministry has given.
Closing
comments.
Should be
done. We have to work together. We can't continue this way. I think in most of the the, you know, the interviews I've been to, it is constant hitting, problem.
Yes.
It is the situation. Like he said, you know, why aren't we talking about what is happening that is good? We have ADAC, which have whatever. We didn't have any of these things. So can we focus a little bit? I think our media also needs to wake up and realize that you're part of the solutions. Yes, we have problems, but what are you doing? What are you doing to be part of the solution? And for me, that's it. That we have to really start focusing on solutions rather than the problems.
All right, Professor, the issue of doping in the country. What are we going to see from ADAC and all the agencies involved going forward to make sure that at least the reputation out there really is that Kenyans are running clean, and that's not the case right now?
I think as Kenyans, first and foremost, we must appreciate that doping is a black spot on our reputation, and we must all cooperate in the war against doping. To this end, I want to urge all Kenyans to contact ADAC, the Anti-Doping Agents of Kenya, in case they hear of any doping going on anywhere, just to report the same. In case somebody has been doped and needs help, still contact the Anti-Doping Agency. In case of anything doping related, contact the Anti-Doping Agents of Kenya. It is up to the task.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen and
but if
lady.
I could just add one thing before you close.
About of time, Commissioner?
1 second.
Yes.
I want to say something about my new cabinet secretary, who has now made it a matter of policy, and we are in the process of doing some policies on how to restructure completely the ministry and put things in order so that mistakes of the past do not keep on recurring. And we are going to ensure that going forward, athletes are paid even before they leave the country, and the modalities are being worked on.
Clear the backlog first, the ones that are talking about, please.
Yes, that will be done. If there are 1 or 2 outstanding cases, it will definitely be done.
Thank you so much, Gordon Oloch, Commissioner for Sports, Cynthia Mumbo, CEO of Sports Connect Africa, and Professor Muni Wekesa, who is a member of the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya Board. Thank you so much for your time. Apologies, we could not tackle much because of the issues, the technical issues that we had earlier. But we'll find another forum, probably even the Nation Leadership Forum, putting this out to my bosses to see if we can then, you know, fix something on sports and the sports industry in the country. Thank you so much for making time for us. We do apologize for that technical issue that we had. But